Let's welcome everybody into the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. This is our Leaf Hour edition. We are with you for the next 2 hours, wherever you're watching, listening, all of our platforms, like Live, Sportsnet, 590 The Fan, Sportsnet 360, and Sportsnet Plus. We're glad you're aboard. What a busy weekend. I am Nick Kypreos. He is Justin Bourne. He is Sammy McKee, Derek Brandeo, and Jake Schultz. Okay, jam-packed weekend.
Yeah.
And, of course, we've had some trades that we're going to discuss, some not even hockey-related, but we will discuss them in the next 2 hours here.
Why Friday night?
And then you go into Saturday night, marquee matchup, Matthews, McDavid, Toronto, Oilers, and Sammy goes to a wedding. A wedding. Because two people are in love. Sammy bailed on Toronto and Edmonton for love.
I will say it was lovely. I do love weddings, and I had a fantastic time. And I will say I was blown away at the amount of people that actually care about Leafs talk. The amount of messages and DMs.
What did you do? What did you do?
No, nothing.
So there's no show?
No show.
You left everybody out to dry.
So I tried to watch the game on my phone at the table, and I had it going, but you're not really paying attention. And then I saw them make it 4-3, and I'm like, I'm going to the bar. I'm like, this is tomorrow's problem. I'll deal with this tomorrow.
Tequila.
So I got a cold Heineken and hung out with my friends. But yeah, it was great.
This is good. He saved all of his takes for us, Kyper.
I watched the game yesterday. It was a really great rewatch, knowing that they won the game. It was a lot of fun. So shout out all the boys. Shout out Vic. Shout out his lovely wife Amanda. Amazing wedding.
To suggest that we've watched every Leaf game live would be just a flat out lie.
Impossible.
How are you on replay watching? Because I'm not great.
Yeah, it's hard.
I'm like, it's
well, when you know they lose, there's the one game you and Sammy, I looked at the group chat and it was just like killing the Leafs. And they end up losing 3-0. And I got to go home and watch them score 0 times and lose to, I think it was Ottawa or something. I was like,
it was Ottawa.
I don't know if I can do it.
And you know you're going to watch like nothing happen.
Yeah. And it's like, he sat there with good intentions and watched the first 3 minutes, and it's just like the device, stuff.
I loved it. I really enjoyed it. I think it's, I was able to, you get to flick through the commercials.
Yeah, the commercials are,
and it's good.
It's a bonus to get through the commercials.
But I've really, I did. It was a good game. Lots happened. Lots to talk about. So it wasn't too bad to rewatch. Anyways.
Okay, so we'll start there, and of course, some trades also. Is it no one's allowed to trade if it's not Friday night?
Yeah,
is that the way it works now in the
that's
NHL?
like the news dump time, but you would think that these teams would be proud of these trades and they would want all the attention possible for acquiring great players. But I don't know. Could be a coincidence it's been Friday at dinner time.
I forgot those trades even happened after Luka Doncic got traded in the NBA.
Oh my God.
I honestly, I thought it was a huge moment for them trading all this stuff. But
was that Saturday night?
Yes.
So did you were you 2 tequilas in by that time that email came?
I was in the car on the way home, and I had
Were you with Bunk?
I was with JD Bunkus, and I was scrolling Twitter, and I looked, and it popped up, and I read it 3 times, and I said, "Oh my God!" And it just went from there.
What would Bunk do?
Oh, we were both like, "It's fake, it's fake." We were just like, "It's fake." So it was a crazy weekend for transactions. But yeah, the hockey trades, it's one that was rumored forever. So we'll talk about it more with Halford in the National Hour. But yeah, crazy.
Crazy indeed. In the meantime, the Leafs now, second time in a short period where they end a 3-game skid.
Mm-hmm.
So
it
was in
dramatic fashion.
It wasn't probably as pretty as I would probably think Berube or the management team would have liked, but a win's a win. No?
You know what I liked about this is this separated Berube and Keefe. I don't know if you guys saw Berube post-game, but he said basically, you guys battled your asses off. We got big blocks, big saves. We scored big goals. That's a win. And I liked that because, yes, Kip, we could sit here and go, they were outshot by 20. It was 18-5 in the second period. The Oilers carried the play. Pick it all apart, fine. But it's I think this is more towards what you're looking at in playoffs, on the road, intense environment, get a lead. Can you find a way? And they found a way.
Let's listen to Berube's overview of the game, alluding to what you're talking about there, because I agree with you. I thought it was a really good synopsis of the game. Clip 1, Berube, please, Derek.
Yeah, well, we got the lead. I thought that, we could have made a harder push, and thought that we let them come at us too much, and they're a very good team. We know that. We got great players, so. But, we did a lot of good things, but I think that we could have been more aggressive with the lead, and we got that 4-1 lead right away, and, I would have liked, I'm not critiquing wins, because wins are wins and they're good, but, we could have pushed a little bit more on them. But Woll was great. Guys battled. Okay, it was a battle, it was a playoff type game. A lot of credit to their team. They're very good.
You didn't like it.
Well, it's not that I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I just think that it's been going on for a long time where the other team's really, really good, and tons of credit to them and finding a way. But wouldn't have been the worst thing to say that we can't just think that we're going to find ways to win like this. It's just not going to happen in the playoffs, and we're only fooling ourselves if we think that we're going to this will work in the playoffs. It's just we've got to play harder. We got to find ways to balance it out, and to continually rely on our goalie to do what he did last night. It's not realistic.
I mean, this was the Leafs formula when they win this year. They get goals from the top 6 guys. It's Marner and McMahon, Nyes. I forget who had the other one. One of the top guys, Willie probably. I don't remember.
Willie,
yeah. And they get saves. That's like the formula for a Leafs win. If those guys don't score, they don't win. So, yeah, there's definitely some concerns about it. The one thing in particular is just how much the Oilers carried the play. There's 90 shot attempts at the Leafs net and 44 the other way. So the Leafs 90. The Leafs ended up blocking 24 shots to the Oilers 7.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they packed the bus a little bit and tried to hang on and did hold on. Needed overturned call on the blue line there, but find a way.
Wow.
Not a bad way.
Joseph
to get 2
Woll
points.
is the way.
Yeah.
It was like,
what a goalie.
It was fun to watch. I will say that watching him is, if you're a Leaf fan, I come on, like, when was the last time you've ever seen that type of performance, like, over and over again? How many games have the Leafs gotten point wise because of those guys?
It is concerning that the high danger chances against are much higher than they were at the start of the year, where we thought they had straightened up their defending. Now it's just really Woll defending or making saves. I was watching that game and thinking about his U.S. teammate, national team program there is Ottinger. I was like, are we sure he's worse than Ottinger? Like, maybe I'm pretty excited about Woll, but like, I'm not sure he's not just as good.
I tried to figure out, because I've seen it on the internet from smart people, but I tried to figure out where to find the goalie steals steals stat, because I feel like there's one out there.
Yeah. And
I don't know how. I went to Money Puck and I couldn't figure out. Money Puck is the most intimidating website in the world to me as an old school kind of hockey fan. I was so scared on there trying to figure it out. But if you broke down the Leafs in terms of how many goalie steals they've gotten this year, quote unquote, I bet you it would be more than they've had combined in the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Without,
think about it. Stolarz and him, you can think of 5 games they wouldn't have won without them.
So, I was just going to ask you, what's the number? What's the number of points? He just threw out 5 games, so that's 10 points. That's 10 points where one goalie made the difference. Would you agree with that number? I think it's a pretty fair number.
I agree. Sure.
But they're on the team too. Like, you're allowed to have, you're allowed to have good goaltending, which his team has never had.
I know you are allowed, but it's very rare.
Definitely.
Well, it's rare, but there are guys who sustain that ability, right? They are that good. And, we've seen Vasilevsky in the playoffs and Shesterkin in the playoffs and, Bob recently. It's like, either you believe that this is not who Woll is, or you believe this is potentially a way for them to find a way through. I know, I'm with you.
Yeah.
You don't want to count on getting great saves. That's a risky plan.
He's just so sound positionally. Like, the puck just hits him up high so often.
He made
Like,
such a great shoulder save
on Perry, the slap
Bouchard.
shot, and the one there was a slap shot from Perry that he just catches with the shoulder. Like, not obviously he has spectacular ones, including the one at the end of the game on Perry. The one cross crease on Skinner, was it, that he went cross crease and got right before they scored the second or third goal? Like, he made some spectacular saves, but he's just so sound, so like in the right spots at all times, like kind of a robo goalie in a way.
Did we play Berube on Joseph Woll?
We did not.
Let's have a listen to the head coach on his star goaltending.
Just a battle, because the way they play, you know, I mean, they move that puck around and they shoot a lot of. There's a lot of attempts that are coming at the net, and I thought he was fighting through traffic and fighting for the puck. Battled hard. Obviously, made some great saves from competing.
Yeah, and he does. I think Kelly on the broadcast talked about how he abandons his form when it gets desperate. He's willing to just get in the way, find a way, and at the end of the game, that's certainly what you see.
So, like I mentioned to you last week, and you got a little bit not cross at me, but you gave me the hairy eyeball. This is what gives me hope.
Yeah.
Listen. This is what I watched a game like that last night, and you could picture that game in the first round against some upstart team that's red hot.
Yeah.
45 shots against you. Your star power takes over, and your goalie steals it for you. You've seen that. Like, you're not going to play as badly. I didn't think the Leafs were very good for most of that game. But
I'm not about to call him Dominik Hasek.
Okay.
But that's the type of goaltending that took Buffalo once upon a time to a Stanley Cup final. Right?
Yeah.
Where you look at the team and you're going, but this guy in net gives you a chance every night. That's the type of goaltending he's given the Leafs a good portion of the season.
Yeah. So to take it away from the crease and look at some other things that happened in that game, one of the most noteworthy ones to me is Jake McCabe plays over 30 minutes. Against top guys, big minutes. The play he makes on McDavid late, who's busting wide, and he hustles and gets a piece and drives him into the end wall. I thought a great game from McCabe.
Somehow gets his hip on McDavid's hip, even though he kind of beat him a bit and knocks him off stride. It was a beautiful play. I mentioned this yesterday on Twitter, but I'll say it to you too. With the cap going up, that contract all of a sudden looks like, I know he's older, and I know it's a longer-term one, but like $113 million cap, and you're paying him, what, 4.5?
He's actually been super cheap for them because he had been retained previously.
And deferred.
Oh, that's right, too, yeah.
Right?
So, yeah, you're getting a nice cap hit on McCabe for years to come. Now, there are concerns with the D. Obviously, OEL leaves with injury. They've called up, is it Dawson Mercer? Is that who they called up?
No, they called Dawson Mercer.
That's a different team.
He plays for the Devils.
Dakota Mermis.
Dakota Mermis. Same initials and sounding name, but so they called him up because Oliver Ekman-Larsson left the game. So,
but is considered day-to-day? They didn't say anything.
I haven't heard anything worse than that.
Berube immediately after the game was like,
he said day-to-day.
He said day-to-day, lower body. I was like, oh, my God. You can't even wait till but anyways, so yeah.
And other than that, I thought, power play was good. They got a couple net front goals out of Nyes and McMahon, which is encouraging.
How did, of course, it's Hockey Night in Canada Saturday night. The build-up was McDavid versus Matthews. Did it play out the way you thought? Matthews and Marner, 4 points between them. At the end of the day, points are points and wins are wins. But how did you see that matchup?
I thought they were awesome. The third period in particular, I thought like a ton of touches were great. Like outside of that line being on the ice, I felt uncomfortable, but I really liked how they looked and how they played defensively in particular. Your thoughts? Similar? Not similar?
Yeah, I think Austin's still kind of, I just don't see that consistent push, that consistent threat like I'd like to. But,
Kip, I thought he was really good at all the center iceman things, taking pucks away, getting out of the zone while they're protecting that lead.
Yeah. How about you?
I think Nyes is hugely important to that line where those two guys can do what they do, and they have such a hard time, I find, in a lot of these games getting to the middle of the ice. Even Marner for sure. Matthews, and he doesn't necessarily, there was that one season where he was tipping a million pucks and get into the center of the middle of the ice. But it doesn't feel like that happens as much recently. And I thought that Nyes really really opens up the middle of the ice because he's just a cinder block in front of the net. And the goal he scores in the power play, like, watching.
Who was it? He crumpled in the corner on a puck retrieval too.
You watch him play, and we were watching them lose. Was it 3 in a row, and he wasn't in the lineup? And you can mention Tavares, and he's clearly a really important guy. But I think it's scary how important Matthew Nyes is to the team. Like, what he brings, the element he has in terms of that power forward, physicality in front of the net. Like, I really, really liked his game on Saturday. And I mean, he scores a big goal. He's just thick neck, kind of a mutant out there. He's been really good.
All right, let's go to Craig Berube on his thoughts on McDavid and Draisaitl and the job that his hockey club did against them.
Well, I mean, we had 2 lines probably most of the time against them tonight, and I thought that they did a good job for the most part. It's hard to handle those guys. They're very good players. We know that, but our D did a good job against them, and when our forwards, who was ever out there, did it, they tried to, stay on them, get above them, not give them too much time and space. So overall, keeping them off the score sheet goal-wise. They had some looks, obviously.
You can't get seamed twice in the dying seconds, 6-on-5. Like, hey, McDavid is looking for Leon. He's looking to get it backdoor to Leon.
That was a nice gift going offside.
Yeah, for sure.
I know.
But
it's easier said than done.
It's McDavid and Draisaitl, and he's punished guys for 34 times this year doing. Has he scored another goal this year? Other than that one, he's so good from that spot. And he almost scored earlier in the game. He fluttered one. It's
just like there's no defensive strategy that shouldn't include one guy's on Leon. One guy's just on him. Now you're right. 5-on-4 everywhere else.
You're right, but it's hard to easy to say it, and then once you get out there and he's going downhill like that. But I mean, yeah.
In terms of red flags on that game, Domi played 10 minutes, played 3 minutes after the Oilers scored their first goal, I think, in the rest of the game. That line with Robertson and McMahon, it's just becoming clear as you watch trades happen around the league. Like, Berube can't be loving that line right now. Trying to figure out how to make that work.
Yeah, I thought Saturday night's another example of you've got to do something here at the center ice position. You need something here moving forward, and
that line was
between Holmberg and Max or whatever. It's not getting it done right now.
Yeah, I thought every time that they put the Robertson, McMahon, Domi trio on the ice was probably the worst minutes that the Leafs had. I really didn't think that they really had much sustained anything. So
I tell you though, I have moments where I'm like, if it's Domi or Robertson going over the boards, I'm not sure who I want right now. Max is struggling.
Yeah.
I do like the fourth line that they put together. That Lorentz, Kampf, Holmberg fourth line works for me.
It plays heavy.
Big, strong, long sticks.
They had a shift in the third period, I think, with about 5 minutes to go, where they had them pinned for a minute. They munched the minutes off of the clock, which helped.
And they could have made about 5 little slips up by the blue line, and every time there was a play obviously there, they just held on or put it back low, and it was like, I hated it offensively, but it was like, that's exactly...
Trying to kill the clock.
Yeah, that's exactly what the coach wants them to do. And Lorentz, I don't know, maybe you can think of the one even, but Lorentz had Holmberg in the high slot, had the puck on the wall, and it was like, he's there.
Not forcing it into the middle of the ice.
He's just not going to give it to him.
Yeah.
He's making the safe play, and I think that bodes well. Lorentz will be there in playoffs on the fourth line, assuming he's healthy.
Lot of talk last week about Riley. Thoughts on him in the game on Saturday. Ends up -1. I think he had an assist. Didn't he ended up with an assist? Yeah. 2 shots on goal. Played 22 minutes, 2 block shots.
Yeah, I thought he put pucks towards the net.
Yeah.
He's definitely conscientious of trying to be involved a lot more, which I'm okay with. I'm open to it because it's not necessarily you just sitting back either. You're trying to be proactive here to get things going your way. it's a start. We'll see where it goes tomorrow night in Calgary, but I expect to see more of the same where he's pushing it.
Mhm.
What else can you do? It's not a good look on this hockey club. What is he, dash 19, 18?
Yeah, lots. I don't know.
It's just, it may cost him a few more dashes to try to get out of this on the opposite side.
Yeah, he's
he's minus 19.
There's
now.
not going to be a game where you're like, Riley's back, baby.
Yeah.
You know, like he needs to chip away and layer one brick on the next to rebuild, and it's going
But
to take some time for him.
I think they may have to go shopping.
Yeah. It's interesting. I saw
For
that
D-man.
San Jose
Yeah.
trade.
Yeah.
Yep, they do.
Yeah.
You know, San Jose
Outside of
traded
a center,
for
too.
Granlund and Cece for a first.
Yeah.
And I know Cody Cece's been through it and the public floggings in Canada, but I like that trade. I would have liked that trade for the Leafs. Maybe not Cece as much, but
I mean, Cece played minutes for a team that went to Game 7 of the finals last year.
yeah,
Like,
real
had
minutes. Killed penalties.
had a primary assist on the only goal they scored in that game, in Game 7, by the way.
There is no doubt in my mind if Brad Treliving's working on something right now, it is trying to find your centerman that you like, and what do you got on D that can package this thing? He will find a similar type of trade with a centerman and a defenseman, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Moving forward.
It's just getting thinner, and I'm getting worried. As JT Miller moves, as Mikael Granlund moves, obviously Rantanen and Natchez move. There's only so many guys that can move. The Islanders are suddenly competitive and not looking to trade. You know, you start looking around the league, and you're squinting and going, Scott Laughton, the answer? Like, you know.
You guys know how I feel about that type of centerman, where it's like you're locked in to go trade for Scott Laughton will cost you probably a first or a second and a third.
What about if you take on Ristolainen's
I don't
contract?
think he's high enough.
Yeah, I know.
I don't think it's gonna like if the
But
Leafs.
that's why it's getting harder.
If the Leafs
Kip.
don't score, like is Scott going to come in and help that?
No, it's not like he jumps
No.
over the boards. You're like, we got a chance
So
to get one.
You need
Not
a
like that.
centerman that can almost push John Tavares down.
You're
you
almost
need one-
literally only talking about Dylan Cousins.
You need somebody as good or better than John Tavares.
Who is that?
Yeah, you're right. You mentioned the name of Cousins. We've dropped Kadri's name before. That's the type of impact I think player that they should be going for. And
Calgary just said they're not doing Kadri.
Then,
Uyghur
I don't like the fact that Braden Shen's got, I don't know, 2 or 3 years left on his deal, and
two after this,
and he's already 33.
Yeah,
not thrilled with it, but how good would he look this year coming in?
I mean, that's the name that I had brought up last week to you.
Yes.
Do you think that's a name?
Yeah, I do.
6.5 this
I
year
do.
and 3 more
I get
after.
it.
Oh, it's 3 more after.
3 more after?
Yeah.
Can you get St. Louis to eat some of it?
They don't retain, do they?
They don't retain, but times are changing.
3 more years? Yeah, that's scary.
That's the type of impactful guy. Ryan O'Reilly.
Yeah.
That's the guy that excited Leaf fans 2 years ago. You try to sign him. Didn't want to stay. But that's better than the names that you just dropped me.
Shen's going to finish with 20 goals this year, and 45, 50 points. But he also, the thing with Shen is he does a lot, right? He also hits, and he's
Leadery
a character guy, and he can do whatever you need him to do by and large. But
so
can I ask you?
Leafs need a blockbuster. They do.
So the question that perfectly kind of parlays off that. That's not the word I'm looking for. I got the gambling mind. Anyways,
doesn't not work.
Okay, we'll use it. Treliving, I'm seeing a little bit of it from Calgary fans. I'm seeing it a little bit kind of out there bubbling up amongst Leaf fans as sort of like the tire kicker here, where a guy, I don't want to make a cross-sport comparison, but much like the Jays at times that are seemingly in on a lot of things, but then when the dust settles after the trade deadline, a lot of the good players are on other teams, and that is a reputation I've heard from Calgary fans. And, it's starting to bubble up amongst Leaf fans. Any thoughts on that? Any
I would
insight
just say
on
that
that?
the fundamental difference is that in Major League Baseball, Toronto is Columbus. We are not.
Yeah,
And
that's
in
fair.
hockey, we're the Yankees.
Yeah.
It
That's
should be
fair.
people being like, I want to be a part of that. They have all the money. We should be the Dodgers in
Yeah.
this case. So it's worse, is my
Yeah.
point. At least baseball, they have an excuse to not land the big.
I mean, you talk to people in the league. Have you ever heard?
Oh,
that?
yeah. That's out there.
It's out there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I mean, I'd have to go back and really revisit everything he's done, but it
feels
doesn't
like a
seem
lot
overly
off-season
unfair.
He's
but
made a couple big.
He does. He has a reputation for making like way more calls than other GMs. Like this guy will talk
Which I like.
to everybody.
Mhm.
So it's like, you'd rather go 1 for 5 than 1 for 50, right?
Yeah.
His batting average is way better
Yeah.
the other way around, but he'll take his bat off the shoulders on everybody and anyone. And if it appears that he's in on everything and doesn't end up with something, it's only because he swung the bat so many times.
Mm-hmm.
But he needs to come up with something between now and the trade deadline.
Yeah.
There's just no way that anybody could look at this hockey club or the way they played Saturday night and go, yeah, they're close to being ready to make a major push here. If you don't want to put all the weight of the world on Joseph Woll or Stolarz when he comes back.
Particularly,
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
particularly when you really make clear that this is about the Stanley Cup and being with the best teams at the end, at least the final 4 teams. And a team like the Oilers, they're not done. Oilers are going to add someone. They're going to add some D.
Did you see anything Saturday night that suggests that they can win the Stanley Cup?
I mean, it's the same answer in that, yeah, I saw a couple of guys that make you think they can win the Cup.
Couple guys.
Yeah.
I didn't see a blue line, and I'm not sure I saw goaltending.
Yeah. Skinner, I said to Sam in our chat, sometimes it looks like he's using like a worn out Velcro pad when you're playing with the sticky catch.
But
He has some of his nights. You're just like, holy.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was huge for them in a lot of big games in the playoffs last year. But you catch him on the wrong night, and you're like, they'll never win anything with this guy.
You just kind of don't know.
You don't really, which is not. That's exactly what you want in your goalie.
Yeah.
Having no idea.
Which guy we got tonight?
No, I do get the feeling though, watching this team, that they are in bigger need of a bigger trade.
Well, let's be real. The Leafs are a +9 goal differential team after 52 games. So 30 games left. They're +9. That's not great. That's a pace to be a +15 team. Those are 6-7 seeds. That's not Stanley Cup winners. Teams are right now in the league, teams that are +53, +64, +40, +29, +28. We're +9. And say what you will about, we don't like plus minus. In the end, you will sort the standings, and the best teams are at the top.
talking to an executive over the weekend, I'm like, how many teams do you think could legitimately win the Stanley Cup?
13.
He gave me 11.
Yeah.
11.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It's a huge number
Right?
compared
Which
to, it's
is-
usually half
Did
that.
they say the Leafs?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
Was
you're
it Brad
part of the 11.
Treliving?
That's 1/3 of
Was
the
it Brad
league.
Treliving?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. In saying that,
Yeah.
like we can also, and I said to him, like, out of the 11, how many of them like have major flaws? He said 11,
Yeah.
right? So
How many of them are going to repeat? 0.
as much as
there's no dynasty here.
you'd like to improve here, and here because it's exposed once a week.
Mhm. They're
They're
all
all the same. Like this is part of that mediocrity of the league today, is that there's nobody that's really, really great or the holes that they have are not necessarily plugged.
No. So
Boys,
this is
Go ahead.
April 2nd, 2019. I've got an article that says why this is the year a weird ass team wins the cup.
It might be.
St. Louis
Blues.
Blues won the cup that year. I feel exactly the same this year. Exactly the same. It's going to be it could be the Leafs year. It could be the Oilers year. It ain't gonna. It could be anyone.
Well, I mean, you look
I
at the
know, but
best team in the league by
Leaf fans
points.
have been saying that for
No, but
20, 30
You
years
said
ago.
this is your last week.
Usually, you're so far behind the best teams.
I'm just
they're
saying
not.
though. I'm just saying though. Like it is wide open.
I
The
actually
best
think
team in the
you
league right now
said
is
the
Washington.
worst.
They stink.
Do the Leafs have a better chance this year because of that?
Yes. If you're do I have a better chance running against my son's grade 3 class or the guys in the Olympics? Give me the kids in Bowmore Public School. They got a better chance against a bunch of average runners here.
Yeah, I'm looking at the top 2 teams in points percentage in the league. It's the Jets and it's the
You get
Caps.
goaltending like that, you can get to a Stanley Cup final.
Beat anybody.
And I know so many Leaf fans, myself included, that watching Game 5 and Game 6 from Joseph Woll last year had everybody dreaming. I had people mentioning Binnington, had people getting
He's played
really
like 10
excited.
playoff games and has like a 920.
No,
or
like he's
something.
unbelievable in the playoffs, and it really lets you dream. So we'll see, but I don't know. Like it could be the year that a weird team wins, and the
I
Leafs
was
are
so
a weird team.
begrudging. You said that with just so little belief.
Well, buddy, I can't ever go there. I can't let my mind go there.
They're a 3-0 shutout away from you feeling differently.
Sorry.
That's the kind of year it's been.
Yeah, Joseph Woll has played 7 playoff games, and he's a .933 save percentage in those games. Wow, 178 goals.
You've got this stat that says Maple Leafs have won 12 straight offside challenges since 2022, but hasn't everybody?
Yeah, if you're
It's
challenged,
changed. Now everyone gets every one.
Yeah, I know, but I put it in there.
Yeah, it's
it was
great.
It was a valid stat.
Yeah.
Oh,
Kyper
no,
does
I'm not saying it's not valid. I'm like, it just seems so, once you get past the excitement of the building or whatever, whether it's the Leafs or anyone else, once you get past it and then you see offside challenge, you just know it's coming back.
I've changed on this. We need to negate them after like 15 seconds. If everyone's still playing and you're still in the play, like it's not off the offside rush. We've sort of reset. 5 guys are in the zone. I don't know what the cutoff is, but like it didn't affect the play that ended in the goal. And I know people will say, well, if they called it offside,
They've worked so hard to get more goals into the game.
Yeah.
And then they take them out off of a whisker.
It's McDavid, Draisaitl, backdoor. This game's going to overtime. Just kidding.
I got to tell you, rewatching it and like watching it after and just watching all those Edmonton fans are just so fired up. And I just knew it was coming. I was like, yes,
No. You know what the best
it.
was? You know what the best was? Listening to them all whine and complain about the Leafs owning the time of the game.
Yeah.
And then coming out and laying an egg like that to start the game.
Yeah, anything for the Leafs.
Right?
Yeah. No, you're right.
Come on, guys.
Yeah, I
You want
expected
to
a little
stick
better.
it to the Leafs. You want to stick it to Sportsnet. You want to stick it to, Kevin Bieksa for his comment to Draisaitl that, anything for the Leafs.
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
Show up to start the
Yeah,
game.
anything for the Leafs.
No?
There are a bunch of grumps over there. They're the grumpiest team in the
Why they're
league by
good,
far.
though. Grumpy's good.
Yeah,
Grumpy's
but they're
good.
really
Why are
grumpy.
you so pissy?
Yes, they're pissy. The Edmonton pissies.
All right.
We should go.
We got Luke on the other side.
We'll call Luke.
We're going to
He's at,
find Luke
he's
Fox,
at
our
practice,
Leaf reporter for Sportsnet.ca, as the Leafs may be on the ice in Calgary as we speak. We'll see if he's got a few minutes for us when we return to Real Kyper and Bourne. The Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee.
Tariff pause, guys. Trudeau just tweeted tariffs are paused.
They're paused?
30 days.
30 days.
Yeah.
He giveth and he taketh away.
Tune into our sister station, City News 680, for more on this.
You don't want to do it ourselves?
No.
Let's talk about the new border plan.
Any thoughts on booing at hockey games?
Yeah.
No.
I mean, hey, we're upset as a nation.
Using the word. I don't think it means what you
Austin
think it
Matthews
means.
get asked today?
Maybe by our next guest.
Oh,
Really?
Did Luke?
I don't know.
ask him?
Luke is there.
All right, we found Luke Fox deep in Calgary. How's it going, pal?
It's going pretty good. I'm sitting inside an empty Saddle Dome right now, and you know what? I'm going to miss this whole place.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure you are, but no one else in Calgary will. I can assure you of that. All right, so where do you want to start? Did you, Justin just gave us the news that the tariffs are in a holding pattern of 30 days. Did you dare ask a question? Did you dare ask a political question today in the Leaf dressing room?
I did not. Austin, it wasn't me, but yeah, Austin Matthews was asked. Just in light of, at Canadian sporting events, the American anthem is starting to get booed. We saw it with the Raptors. He's captain of Team USA. He plays for a major Canadian market. He got asked just open-ended if he had any thoughts, and he said no, he's no interest in getting political. I think it's fair to ask, and I think it's fair to not answer. So we move on.
Yeah, I don't know, outside of no comment.
Never get in on that.
I mentioned no comment about a week ago for JT Miller, and I think it worked out okay for him.
Yeah, no comments.
Yeah.
As far as the prep work goes into Calgary tomorrow night, what can you tell us on who's feeling well, who's not feeling well?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. And Craig Berube's keeping his cards close to the vest. So it was no surprise that Oliver Ekman-Larsson didn't practice because he left last game, only played about 5 minutes, and then suffered a lower body injury. And after the game, it sounded like he might miss a little bit of time. And then they recalled Dakota Mermis up from the minors, sent Fraser Mitten down. So they wanted an extra defenseman on the trip. So I would be stunned if he plays. But the surprise was that all of a sudden Mitch Marner needed a maintenance day. And he looked pretty great in Edmonton and didn't seem no obvious injury. Berube said he thought he was fine in the game, but he needed a day off today, which raised some eyebrows. And then afterwards, Berube did not say, "Oh, he'll be fine. He's playing tomorrow." And that's usually the case with maintenance days. So I think we're going to be on alert tomorrow morning and see if he takes the morning skate and see what Berube says tomorrow. The other curious thing is he didn't commit to a goalie. So Anthony Stolarz went through a starter's routine. He's looking really good. And it sounds like Berube hasn't decided. Does he go back to Woll, who was fantastic with his buzzer-beating save in Edmonton, or does Anthony Stolarz start as early as tomorrow night, or does he wait till Seattle? Because it sounds like he is going to play one of these games.
Seattle,
any thoughts?
Seattle Thursday and Vancouver Saturday.
Mm-hmm. Any thoughts on the Marner thing?
Yeah.
Is it?
I kind of would lump him right off the top of my head with Oliver Ekman-Larsson, where something's bothering them.
Yeah.
So I go 3 things. I go hamstring, groin, hip flexor.
Yeah, something that's just a constant sort of annoyance.
Factor the turnover, factor jumping on a plane, factor in things maybe tightening up a back.
Yeah.
Tight back. Something's just
not
bothering
like a fractured bone or anything.
No. Something's bothering these guys. See if it can settle down in 24, 48 hours and go from there.
Yeah. So, Luke,
what's interesting there, though, is, sometimes when they have a guy that they know is going to play, they just plug any old placeholder in there, and they had Max Domi in Marner's spots. So in Marner's spot in the top line as the facilitator. So I think they're cautioning against maybe having to use Domi up there.
Yeah, give him a night. That he's certainly put in his share of work this year. So with Stolarz being a possibility, then it seems like he's back and healthy. It would make perfect sense for him to get an opportunity now if they want to get him in before the Four Nations, right?
Absolutely, and I think he will. If it's not tomorrow night, it's got to be in Seattle, and Seattle will be maybe a softer entryway back into action, just because I don't think they have a ton of offensive punch. Calgary, really will be amped up for this game. I mean, they're in a playoff fight, just made a trade. The room's got a boost. The crowd here is amazing. The Seattle crowd, it's a little tougher, but when the Leafs roll through the Saddle Dome, it's like 50-50 split, much like Vancouver and Edmonton, and the place is rocking. So I think the easier way might be the Seattle start for Stolarz.
If we do see Stolarz, is it perhaps a peek into how this thing will play out, no matter how hot one guy can get, they're very careful and wary of putting too much on their shoulders, maybe protecting them a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a bit of a rotation, quite honestly, Nick. Like, the schedule is going to be crammed again after they break for the Four Nations. They got two goalies that have been playing well whenever they've been healthy. I think they're just going to share the net. I think it's going to be very much like Ullmark and Swayman in Boston last season, and you make sure both guys are rested. Neither is proven to be a workhorse in this league, so it's the smart play. And then you push the decision of who's the number one in the playoffs down the road, who's playing the best at that time. I think absolutely, like, the Leafs have shown every indication, not just with the goalies, but with everyone, that they're using rest and recovery, more than I've seen in the past. They're being extra cautious, and that applies specifically to the goalies who've bailed them out in so many games.
Lucas, we sit here after 52 games, leaving us 30 to go. Are your impressions of Craig Berube different than what you had anticipated the Leafs were getting when he became coach?
A little bit. And what I would say is, I think the reputation and the buzzword coming in, I remember his opening press conference, there's a lot of talk about accountability. And I think for many of us, that meant, he's going to be stern. He's going to be strict. And I think he's just gone about it in a very different way. He's extremely personable, both with reporters, but also with the players. Like, I saw him go up and have lengthy one-on-one chats today with Matthews and with Tavares. And I think he just has a way about him that the players respect. He carries a presence about him, but I don't think he's as hard as maybe some of us thought he might be publicly. He's extremely protective of them whenever he steps in front of the microphone. And maybe he's a little bit harder edged behind closed doors. And he yells and swears and demands people pay attention in practice. But he just has a calmer way about him than his predecessor did. And that's partly because he probably feels less heat and has a little bit more job security.
We're talking to Luke Fox, NHL on Sportsnet, sportsnet.ca. Luke, your latest addition to sportsnet.ca has how NHL's biggest ever cap leap affects Mitch Marner and the Maple Leafs. You go on to write that it's not crazy to suggest that he could even earn more than Austin Matthews. Of course, when I said it about a month and a half ago, I'm like the biggest
You didn't
idiot,
know what the cap was going
right?
to be, pal.
Oh, I knew what it was.
Well, then you should do that on our show because that would help our ratings a lot.
I did. I told you $100 million. And
it's not 113, is it?
No, next year should have been 102.
Yes.
This is still under the number, right? This is still artificially kept down at 95.5. It should be at 102. Luke, my point is that you say no problem, right? Not crazy at all to think about Mitch Marner now making more than Austin.
Yeah, it's not, if he wants market value, he can get that. I don't think 14's out of the question, and that's because it's not just the Leafs will have more cap space and that the cap's going up, but you have 31 other teams that have tons of money. Say you're Ryan Smith in Utah and you're trying to sell a new fan base, or say you're Davidson in Chicago and you're trying to speed up this Bedard issue, this era where they need someone to help them. Like, there are going to be teams willing to offer Mitch Marner and Mikko Rantanen, I think, closer to 14. And now, on a max term deal, but I think what's going to happen is Mitch Marner has to make a decision, and the Leafs have to make a decision. How bad do I want to remain a Maple Leaf? And they have to say, how bad do we want to keep him? If we want to pay him fair market value, it might be as much or more than Austin Matthews. And that comes with a whole other set of baggage in terms of optics and pressure and all that. Does Marner want that? Do the Leafs want that? That's what I don't know. But I think on an open market, for sure, he could get that money.
For sure.
And that
depends on his priorities.
And Matthews only signed for 4 years, right? Like, generally, you're buying more UFA years. It costs more money.
It's a lot easier to answer if you've gone to a conference final or a Stanley Cup final.
Sure.
That would help. You know what, though? Realistically, there's no way they're better without him. You know, it'll be interesting to see. But if he wants to go get that money in Utah, that's absolutely there. No doubt about that. As they head, do you want to follow up on that at all?
No.
Okay. As they head towards the Four Nations face-off here, you're seeing so many teams make monster moves, Luke. Do you feel like the Leafs are kind of, I don't know, there's only so many options for them. Are they falling behind by not having done something so far?
I don't know if they've fallen behind, but I mean, there's fewer guys available, right? Like, they did have some level of interest in Saad for secondary scoring. He's gone. Grant, there was probably some level of interest in Granlund. Now he's in Dallas. I don't know if JT Miller would ever really consider going to another Canadian team, but some names are getting struck off the old Kyper trade board there, and are the Islanders even selling Brock Nelson? We don't know. I mean, that suddenly they win a couple
JB, you
games.
say no.
I say no.
Yeah, so it's like they need. I still think they're going to add someone, but they might. I don't know if it's going to happen before the Four Nations. They might just wait and see if there's a little bit more separation before March 7th. They have to add someone. It's just, I don't know who really excites you. Does Nick Bjugstad excite you? Does an injured Yanni Gourde excite you? Like, what other names are out there?
I would.
By the way, if the Islanders lose a bunch, it could still happen.
Yeah.
We've gone back and forth like 3 times on the Islanders.
I know, they've been out. They're in. They won 7 in a row. Now they're out again. Barzal's hurt.
All right. Luke, great job as always, man. Thanks for coming in, helping us out today.
Okay. Have a good one, guys.
Thanks, Luke.
Luke Fox in Calgary, covering the Toronto Maple Leafs. Sportsnet.ca, and a terrific article. Catch it on Sportsnet.ca, where he backs up everything I've said.
He must just love the show. Just loves coming on. So, question for you: this injury news with Marner, getting close to the Four Nations here. I mean, is this an ailment talk here? Like, is this?
It's Feb 3rd. They're going to play on the 4th. I think the last game they play before the Four Nations is the 8th.
Yeah.
Wild horses to keep Mitch Marner from playing with McDavid.
Oh my God, you'd kill the play. I know, but if he's hurt,
it's not happening.
Okay, thought I'd bring it up.
It's not happening. I don't know. Did he rip his groin?
I hope not.
Did he? Is a disc out?
Could you imagine though?
It's a different ball game. But
people prioritizing their own things in past years over the team stuff. You just hope.
Like, you're thinking it's more of just a knock than it is an actual injury.
I have no idea.
How about
I'm just telling
ailments?
You, usually under these circumstances that you're on the road and you're racing to catch a flight, you get on the plane, and all of a sudden things tighten up on you. That's all.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on with him.
Yeah.
But I think it's day to day.
Oh my!
All day.
I buy into the day to day. I'm sorry.
He hurt himself. Absolutely dancing 6 Oilers on his way, including Stuart Skinner on the way to the net. There, that's what I heard.
Every conspiracy thought on day to day injuries, and no, I think maybe if whatever's bothering him, if he needs a night off, it'd be fun to watch the Leafs play without him.
Give a night off,
right?
Has he had one yet? He's played every game, right?
That'd be good bargaining leverage for Darren Ferris.
What if Domi goes out there and gives him 3 assists? He has a hat trick. Then what?
Then you sign Domi to.
Well, he's already got the long contract.
Okay,
we're already trying to get rid of that
Mitch.
one. Oh
Trade
yeah.
Mitch.
Rantanen.
Make up your mind.
You're yelling at me. What are you talking about?
All right, we'll see. We'll play it by ear. We'll see what news we get. But right now, day to day, Sammy.
Day to day, baby.
All right, our thanks to Luke Fox for joining us. When we return, Mike Halford, co-host of Halford Rough from Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver. Still tons of news coming out of Vancouver still. Hey.
I know.
A couple of deals.
And how many Pettersons do they have on the team?
10.
3 pack.
Oh, my gosh. Back after these words. All right, time to kick it up a notch here on our National Hour. The Real Kyper and Bourne Show. We are live on Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver, Sportsnet 960 in Calgary. This hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee with you for the next hour. Mike Halford, co-host of Halford and Bruff on Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver, will join us in a few minutes.
Why? What happened?
What happened is that now
things.
everybody in the NHL waits for a Friday night because they know that we don't work Saturday or Sunday to pull off major trades now in the NHL.
They don't want to hear us fresh, emotional, right off the top on this.
So we'll get Mike on in a few seconds here, and we'll talk about the depth of the JT Miller blockbuster trade. Another one in the National Hockey League. But before that, there was, I think the NBA got jealous, I guess, of the last two trades, Colorado and Vancouver. So
if the NBA got jealous, they really took they stole the show. I mean, that is the most insane, bizarre trade in any sport I can ever remember.
This one, like, I'm not even a basketball guy, but it makes no sense because one guy is how much older than Luka?
Doncic is 35 or 25 turning 26.
25 turning 6, traded for a 31-year-old, correct?
Who's always hurt.
Yeah,
David Davis.
His nickname is actually Street Clothes.
Yeah.
So
that's how often he's hurt.
So please, you're more of an expert here. Explain this to me.
I am far from an expert. I do like the NBA. I love the Raptors. Don't watch as much this year because of the whole Vince thing, but that's neither here nor there. So I'm far from an expert. But I can't wrap my head around it. And there's all these different aspects. And the only thing I can think of is that it's fixed by the league. Is that like they're
fixed
like
by the league?
They're like, hey, we need everybody sees our ratings. We see all this stuff. You know, we got to get one of the best young players on the Lakers, make them great. They are one of the biggest draws. Like, there's no other explanation.
And Dallas goes, and
Sure,
Dallas goes, we'll take it on the chin for that.
There's an ownership thing that's happening there. They got new owners and potential. Like, there's
rich owners.
Yeah, but like, you sent me a great thread on it. I really don't know what the hell happened, but I was trying to think of like this in hockey terms.
There isn't a comparable. One team actively trying to get work.
It would be like, I don't know, who's the second best, I guess, how old's Matthews?
27.
26, turning 27 maybe.
Okay. And then I'm trying to think of a guy that's older that's like traded. Like, it's like Mark Scheifele hasn't won.
Okay,
but it's like trading Matthews for Mark Scheifele.
Cale Makar for like Colton Parayko.
Yeah. That's maybe more a point.
That's not fair because Anthony Davis is a top 10, top 15 player in the league when he's healthy. It's like, Luka Doncic is the third or second or fourth best player in the league.
We shouldn't waste 10 seconds on this comparison anymore.
You don't think there's some sort of comparison to be made, but I can't find it.
The one thing, there's a great expression that everything's a conspiracy theory if you're a moron. Now, I just want to say, this isn't that. There is something happening here for sure that was not Dallas being like, I'm going to make my team better by swapping Doncic for Davis. That's not this. So there's something happening there. There's theories about ownership and trying to get casinos approved and trying to threaten to move the team to Vegas. There's all these theories. Something's going on there. Anyway, we talked about basketball for way too long.
But I mean, the only thing that's on the same level is like Gretzky getting traded.
Sure.
Yeah, it's like that's this level. It's just it doesn't
but at least
happen.
you could see how the Gretzky thing made sense. This is still
They just didn't want to pay Wayne. That was it.
Yeah,
they didn't want to pay what Wayne finally deserved.
Which, by the way, how dumb is that?
They probably should have paid him.
Yeah, should have paid him.
Okay, Mike, let's welcome me in. Mike Halford.
Gentlemen. Hey, gentlemen. Sorry about that. How we doing?
We're good. Don't ever apologize to us. Sammy does that to us, but not you. So how are things since Friday night? Like, big relief or people questioning it? The conversations that we had prior to Friday night was, I'm not sure Vancouver's going to be happy regardless of what they get for JT Miller. Did that stand true in your eyes?
No, it's funny. I woke up Saturday morning and I was like, oh, this is boring now. We need more trades. Started to itch away at my face. I'm like, we need more action. Come on, give us more trades. Yeah, just a little bit more. Yeah, it was. The weekend gave everyone a chance to sort of sit and realize the magnitude of what happened and how profound the changes were. I mean, if you go back over the 50-plus years of Canuck history, there aren't many days that profound where they made so many like seismic moves to change the course of action for a team mid-season, right? We've seen big off-season moves before, but nothing to this magnitude. You have to go all the way back to the 90s, I think. So there's still very much a sense of wait and see. I know Rick Tocchet, after the overtime loss to Detroit last night, talked about how, there's a real sense of everyone starting from zero, and it's a fresh start for a lot of guys and new beginnings. And it is a very new look team now with so many changes. So I've got time for that approach, but I think a lot of people are in more wait and see mode, specifically when it comes to Pettersson, because right now everyone's laser focused on number 40. That's the topic of conversation. I know the new Pettersson and O'Connor and Hedl and Mancini, people are interested by them, but it still remains very much a Pettersson story.
Well, let's go down the Pettersson. Let's go down the Pettersson road a little further. So
Let's do it.
Oh, no, it's just starting.
Oh, I know it's just starting.
It's just starting.
There's just so much from this trade to break down, but that is the biggest piece here is what now? Is he still going to be a Vancouver Canuck come August of this year? If he plays great, what is the scenario? Set the table for us.
Right. So the chronology now is you've got from here until the end of the regular season or playoffs, depending if they make and if they do, how far they go. And it almost feels like a very weird re-audition period for a guy who, let's be real now, should be unencumbered by any issues. There's always been something. It's but there's a potential injury, or but we've never had the adequate winger for him, or now it's but he's always had to deal with this Miller situation. And the club has gone above and beyond, like stripping those away just to try and get to the real issue here, which is what's up with Pettersson, and can he get back to being the player that we're giving $11.6 million a year to? And right now, it just doesn't look like it. And I think, if you're to look forward, given how far they've gone down the road with, proposed trades and how close they've come to actually pulling the trigger on a Pettersson deal, it's hard to put an overwhelming percentage in the will be a Canuck moving forward, because that they've entertained the idea of doing it. He'd have to have a pretty dramatic turnaround in his game. He can't go these long stretches with being invisible or everyone looking for the smallest detail to be like, oh, is he back? Is he closer to being the Pettersson that we knew? It's got to be more profound than that. So I would say, the next 2-3 months or so are going to be very interesting to see what he does on the ice, and then based on that, what the Canucks are going to do with him away from the ice. So
basically, we're giving him a 30-game tryout here.
It seems crazy to say for a guy that's got a $96 million contract.
So,
but it's, if you subscribe to the theory that the rift with Miller was so big and so profound, it was affecting his game and the games of the players around them, then you say, okay, well, if you're Alvin and Rutherford, you're like, we got rid of that problem. We made the choice. And fair or not, that's what the public perception is right now. So the Canucks made the choice to keep 40 and to move 9. And that with itself comes with a lot of pressure, and that's a new dynamic that Pettersson's going to have to deal with now. I don't know how engaged he is with the court of public opinion, but, anecdotally, we hear people texting into our show, and we talk to people around the city. Like, people liked Miller. People liked the way that he played. People liked what he brought to the table. And for a rift to be solved by moving him and keeping Pettersson, there's still a lot of raw feelings around that. There's going to be a lot of expectations and a lot of pressure around it, too.
So, Mike, let me ask you if the light switch doesn't hit between now and the end of the season, and you still get a lot of the Pettersson that you've seen throughout this season, now it shifts off of Pettersson and it goes right back on Jimmy Rutherford and Alvin on what to do. Is there a world in your eyes that you can continue to kind of see this inconsistency from Pettersson, and yet they decide to not trade him, lock in his no move moving forward? What would that world be like for Vancouver Canuck fans?
Well, I think the very next thing for those two is their pivot would have to be, what are we going to do to ensure that Quinn Hughes never leaves Vancouver? That would be the big thing for me, because that's going to be the next one, right? Like, his deal's not up immediately. It's 2 years down the road, but they would start having to align all their pieces to be, how are we going to keep Quinn Hughes a Vancouver Canuck for life? Because that is the most profoundly important thing. I would say that they've already thrown the gauntlet down in terms of what their expectations are for Pettersson, and they've both said it publicly that he's not met them. So I can't envision a world where he underperforms and they're okay with it, especially Rutherford, when we've seen how bold and swift he can be, especially in the last week. I mean, look, he came out in Vancouver to a pretty frenzied market and said, we're going to make this deal, either a Pettersson or Miller deal, and we're probably going to lose it. Like, be braced, Vancouver, for getting an inferior return to what you might want. And then 3 days later, boom, made the trade. And he was right. Like, they didn't get this overwhelmingly brilliant package for Miller. It was just sort of, and everyone understood that they had to do it. So with an executive that bold and that unafraid to make moves, I got to imagine that if Pettersson keeps underperforming, he will be deploying his trade somewhere else next season.
It's it's not. I don't think it's a guarantee that JT Miller's long contract ages well. There could be some rays of sunshine in this. The Canucks get younger with Hedl, Pettersson, O'Connor, Mancini. What are your thoughts on how this changes the Canucks? Are they better? Can they be the same even?
They might have inadvertently dodged a bullet with Miller's contract, no question. The timing could end up working out brilliantly for them, where the reason they traded him wasn't because of his contract. It was because of, solely this issue. But if you're looking down the road, you could very well argue that JT Miller's played the best hockey that he's ever going to play in his career. The best parts of him are done. He still might play very good hockey, but he might never be a 100-point guy again. He might never be on the fringes of the Hart Trophy conversation like he's been. It might just be done. So in that regard, they may end up saying, hey, this worked out okay for us. That's down the road, though. In the immediacy of it is you look at the forward group, and the first thing you're thinking is, who's going to score right now? Who's going to be the driver? Who's going to be another F1 on this team that can get things done and be a difference maker in the clutch? Last night against Detroit was a pretty glaring example where it was another game where they failed to score more than 2 goals at home. It was without Quinn Hughes, so everyone's kind of looking for who's the other game breaker. Well, it's Pettersson. He's making close to $12 million a year, and there wasn't anything to break. He didn't break the game open. It was Hedl, the guy that stepped up, ironically enough. So, there's still that sense of, in the short term, in the term of this season and the next season, Miller will be missed, but I've got a lot of time for what you're saying about the long term. They may have gotten out from a deal that won't age well.
You mentioned Hedl, an impressive debut, scored a huge goal for the Vancouver Canucks, and just his ceiling, his upside. I've watched him underachieve in New York at times, thinking he's just another big hit away from being out of the lineup. Your early thoughts of his chance to fill in a void?
So we had Larry Brooks on the show this morning. Brooks is great and everything. I'll just paraphrase what he said, basically. He said, he was really high on Hedl's talent. He loved him as a player, loved him as a person. He said the only reason that it never worked in New York, 2 reasons. One, you never knew when his next hit absorbed was going to be his last, because he had major health issues, as you alluded to. The other one was he was kind of blocked out by other centers in New York, where he was always going to be a 3C guy. And then we watched him last night. I don't know, Bruff and I were texting back and forth saying, there's a lot to like here. He's big, he's strong, he's fast, he can carry the puck in traffic. He had a couple of one-man zone entries, which is a totally foreign concept for this Canucks team and the way that they've played this year. And he scored a big goal at the end. Here's the thing. It's always the same thing, right? It's if he can stay healthy, but it's capital I, capital F, if, because he's shown no ability to do that. The one season where he was pretty healthy in New York, I think he played about 77 games and had good numbers and was effective and, drove play and put up counting stats and was a guy that you were intrigued by, but he just never stayed healthy long enough to do it with any sort of sustainability. So I'm hopeful. I'm really hopeful, because they're going to need him, especially in this short term, to make an impact. But I am, you're going to hold your breath a little bit every time he absorbs the check or he goes into a collision or something like that, hopeful that he comes out of it standing up.
Well, if you send a first-round pick that comes back with him to Pittsburgh for Pettersson, surely you expect to keep that guy. Are you a little nervous about what that number looks like, given what I assume is some desperation to sign him, not lose him?
Yeah, right. Like they're not going into it wielding the most power in negotiations. Right? Like, cards are on the table. Everyone knows that your blue line stinks. You just made a huge trade for the guy, right? I mean, it's there's already a bunch of reports out there.
Cap's gone up a ton.
Yeah, right. Like all the signs point to you're going to be paying out the nose for this guy. But I mean, it seems like everyone knew with either a wink, wink, or a nudge, nudge, or a hand.
Deal's done.
There was a deal ready. There was a deal that was going to get done here. The question is what the number is going to come in at. And, I guess we'll just have to wait and see on that. I've heard it's going to be, the guy's going to be rewarded handsomely. Everyone likes his play. Talkett saw him last night again and was raving about how calm he was on the back end. And then if you look at Vancouver's blue line, he's going to be an important part, I think, in it going from being one of the worst units in the NHL, which you could have said it was at times this year, to a group that if you start looking down the road and you bring in Mancini and Tom Willander, the former first-round pick, comes out of BU and jumps to the pros, and then the other Elias Pettersson, who's starting to play well in the blue line, suddenly you're looking at a blue line that's a little more optimistic and a little brighter days ahead, and the Marcus Pettersson's a big part of that.
Mancini might be the sleeper here in all of this. I hear great things about him, and
He's large.
He will play in the NHL.
15 games this year, I want to say. I think he ended up with 5 points in 15 games in a limited showing with the Rangers. And look, I mean, point blank, like the Rangers had a better, deeper blue line than the Canucks did. So whatever opportunity Mancini didn't get in New York, I think he'll be privy to in Vancouver just because the guys he was replacing aren't playing well. Like Carson Soucy was a healthy scratch against Detroit on Sunday, and Tocchet flat out said he's struggling. He needs a reset. It's been a really tough go for him, and I don't think that they're enamored with like playing Noah Juleson with as many reps as they have. They traded Vinny Desharnais away to Pittsburgh to open up another spot in the Marcus Pettersson deal. So there's opportunities there, and I think a lot of people in Vancouver are really excited at the prospect of seeing what Mancini can do, just because the blue line's been such a sore spot for everyone this year that anybody new with some upside and some intrigue is going to be welcomed with open arms.
Is there any sadness in leaving or losing Brandstrom or Desharnais?
No.
Okay.
I mean,
good talk.
Yeah. I mean, look, the one thing I'll say, you know what? The one thing that this management group has done really well is identify when they've made a mistake and get out from under it really quick, right? And you can go all the way back to Mikheyev. They signed him. They said, no, this isn't working out. Boom, moved him along. Kuzmenko, same thing. Heinen, same thing. Desharnais, Brandstrom. They picked him up right before the start of training camp, realized it wasn't working, or at the end of training camp, realized it wasn't working. On he goes. And, it's people will laugh when they're like, well, great, they make mistakes and then they own up to it. But, there's other management groups that'll be stubborn or defiant or won't want to admit that they're going to take an L on this. And that hasn't been the Rutherford Alvin way. Sometimes they try things and they don't work, and they're very quick to pivot off it, which I give them a lot of credit for.
So, Mike, are these changes enough for now or towards the end of the season? Is this lineup good enough to ward off the Calgary Flames?
It's good. I mean, I would have said yes until Calgary made that move for Frost and Farabee, which caught me by surprise because, it was a kind of a savvy buy low deal for them where they took a chance on a couple guys that had obviously, I think, stagnated a little bit in Philly and are still young enough to be considered guys that could be a part of Calgary. So I think it was a really savvy move. I just didn't see them buying at all going into this season. And they seem fully committed to the act of making a push for it. Like, why not? They've got the goaltending and they've had bounce back years. And I've watched Calgary a lot this year. They play hard. They play real hard. They're bought in for Ryan Huska behind the bench. So they're going to be one of those teams that is like tough to like knock away and to knock out of the picture. But I think eventually the lack of talent will probably do just that. And that'll probably allow Vancouver to get in. But I think that might be the ceiling on the team this year is just getting in. I mean, I just haven't seen enough through close to 50 games now where they can string together enough good performances consecutively to win like a playoff series. Like, they just have too many eggs, and they have too many no-show performances, and they just don't win enough games with regularity to be taken seriously. But I do think that they'll end up in the playoffs, partly because, Calgary and then the rest of the West, the team's chasing right now, they're just not that great.
Obviously I shouldn't say it all, but a lot of their success hinges on Quinn Hughes playing and being healthy. What are your thoughts on where he's at health-wise, and any concerns about the pending Four Nations face-off?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it on the show today. I asked the question aloud. Like, no one thinks that Quinn Hughes should play in the Four Nations face-off, right? And then there was a silence, and then everyone kind of begrudgingly nodded along. Like, I mean, it's tricky because you have to respect the player's wishes. And I think in this particular instance, since they're going to be catering to Hughes for the next couple of years anyway, like, whatever Quinn wants, we'll give him because we want him to stay around. Like, I don't think you want to run afoul of a player, but I mean, the Pietrangelo thing clearly sounds like that was Vegas making the call, right? Like, that wasn't him not wanting to go. I mean, he came out and said that it sucks that I don't get to go to the Four Nations face-off. And then my response was like, well, then just go play. You're playing right now. Yeah. So obviously it's someone above saying, yeah, you're not going to do this one. So, Hughes has logged a ton of minutes. He's taken a lot of abuse. He's got something wrong with his hand. Lord knows what else, because he's been, shouldering such a heavy workload. I think it would be smart for the Canucks if he just took the couple weeks off and rest and recuperated, but I don't know where the buy-in with all the players is right now on the Four Nations thing. But I have to think, given he hasn't really got to play a lot of best-on-best internationally, and he'd be such a huge part of the team, he'd want to go. But again, this is just me purely speculating at this point.
Mike, the Vancouver Canucks can't even get him to take warm-up off. Like, when you see a superstar take warm-up, 99% it's because he's playing. Right. So that may give us some indication of who's making the decisions on when to play or what tournament to play in. But I got to think that he's also feeling a lot of pressure to perform in this tournament, as well as maybe some others, because when it's all said and done, man, this is the players' tournament. This is what they wanted.
Well, that's what we keep, like, everyone that is maybe not looking forward to the tournament or saying, like, oh, the players aren't bought in, or the players will just treat this like an exhibition or a meaningless tournament. I always point back to the players were the ones that wanted this. I mean, the players were the ones that brought this up as a collective bargaining chip. The players were the ones that didn't just want international competition. They wanted a calendar so that there was, a regularly scheduled best-on-best international competition. They wanted it to be with regularity. They want, the players want this. It was a player-driven initiative. I remember talking to Marty Walsh when we had him on from the NHLPA, and he said it was very important, especially to a generation of players that haven't got to have it at all, and watch, clips of Crosby scoring the golden goal. That they all want that on their resume, and this is the way to do it, is to have tournaments like this in between Olympics, so that you don't go 3 or 4 plus years without any international best on best. So I hope that the players remain committed and passionate and stuck into this thing, because I want it to work.
Plus, the Terraforce are going to turn it into the Summit Series, right?
Like, is Canada-U.S. not like a must-watch game within the last 4 years? Suddenly, like, it was already a pretty good rivalry.
Trump and Trudeau should have to play.
Added layers, right? Like, it's great.
I heard in Montreal, if the penalties were just 2 minutes, but once they crossed the border, they were going to 2 minutes and 40 seconds because of the extra tax.
Yeah, no, like, you see, that's a good one. I was also like, do we willingly just boo anthems moving forward? Is this a thing that we're doing at games now? Like, the whole like equation has changed, and I'm fascinated to see how it plays out.
We are as well. Mike, thanks for doing this, man. Really appreciate it.
No problem, guys. Anytime.
Mike
Thanks,
Halford.
buddy. Appreciate it.
Halford and Bruff out of Vancouver. Sportsnet's 650.
I got to say, if you have to cover a team in the NHL, Vancouver's pretty high up there for drama. Like, if we had to do a show about a different team, that might be the next most electric team.
Look, we do a Vancouver show.
Look,
every day at 5.
I'm saying if we had to do an hour on one team.
Yeah, but we do it every day now.
I see your point.
It's unbelievable how, like, maybe we got a good example of it south of the border, but chaos grabs attention. man.
But the NBA's been thriving off that for years now.
Look at the poor Winnipeg Jets. The Winnipeg Jets are a first-place team.
Unbelievable. They win every night.
They've got 20 more points than the Vancouver
Best goalie
Canucks.
since Patrick Waugh prime.
Yeah.
Right?
Kyle Connor shoots at the night every night.
We don't talk about them because, they're good.
Yeah.
Good's boring.
But this was, as a video coach with the Maple Leafs young guys, we had Zach Hyman on the team. No one ever said a word about him. No one talked to him, never showed him video. He just was good. He's fine. You didn't need to deal with him.
They probably should have paid him. Leafs.
Yeah, they should have. But you did have to talk to Willie. He needed lots of conversation. And it's like sports talk radio. It's like, do it right, have success. Not that interesting.
What'd you think of the trade?
I am. Which one?
Just of the Miller trade. Like, were you not surprised that it happened, but like,
yeah,
that seemed like the rumored package forever.
We said before that they there's only one team they got to go back to. That's the only trade left.
Yep.
So I kind of agree with them to take the best out of a situation. And anytime a player's asked to be moved, you're handicapped, whether or not you want to admit that there's issues. Clearly they did. They were handicapped because of that. But there is no alternative moving forward other than taking your lumps and getting the best deal that you can at that specific time. So I'm on board with them doing this.
And nothing more clearly said these guys were grinding over this trade, like the first rounder being top 13 protected. No one suggested 13 as the number. It was top 5, top 20, and they were grinding it down to the very draft slot. So that this went on for a while if you end up with old top 13 protected.
You look at it from the Rangers' perspective, and you alluded to it with Halford there about like the long-term contract stuff and how, but you watch him over the weekend and you're like,
oh, he's
the Rangers just got like a top 20 guy immediately into their lineup for Hedl, who's up and down, injured all the time, and a protected first-round pick and an AHL defenseman.
All of a sudden, you look at their lineup, and it's like Panarin, Miller, Zibanejad, Riley Smith, Vincent Trocheck, Lafreniere, Kreider, Willie Cooley, who we all love, and Brodzinski, Carrick and Rempe, and it's a good team. Lindgren, Fox, Keandre Miller, Will Borgen, Shesterkin in net, Braden Schneider.
Yep.
How's that team not in playoffs?
The Toronto Maple Leafs first-round matchup. Gonna be fun.
You're not wrong.
And now all eyeballs on Pettersson.
Oh, my God.
40. Number 40.
Yeah.
If he doesn't go to another level that people expect from 11.6, the demand for them to punt him this summer will be enormous.
They should trade him right now. They should trade him, before the March deadline, anyway. It's...
I don't...
4-point weekend for JT Miller.
I don't think you can go this far and not at least give him some time here before you punt.
To me, and I've heard this said from other people, it's like no one traded Miller because they said this is Miller's fault and not Petey. Everyone that I know of in Vancouver said it's their fault. These two. So just because they found a trade for Miller first, to me, does not mean now this guy gets a chance at a fresh start.
It's no, there's no fresh start. This is like, you got what you wanted, now deliver.
Yeah. Okay, and that's if he goes out there and pours it in and all of a sudden it's magic and all that. I guess you say, God, we shouldn't get rid of this guy. His contract does look really good in light of the salary cap number going up a lot.
Well, depending on like what you're getting for 11.6.
But presumably the bad version of him is a point per game 30 goal guy, but maybe not. Is it worse than that? If it's worse than that, that's bad.
I mean, how many points does he have this year?
Not a point per game. But I got to believe that's...
I just...
Pettersson currently has 33 points in 46 games.
That's not 11.6 production.
No,
and then
it's not.
And if he's no good towards the end of this year, if he's no good towards the end of this year, it's going to be tough to move that huge thing. You think?
Yeah, if he's really bad for a bit, you're right. He could conceivably have to tack something on to get rid of him or something. So yeah, maybe I'm a dummy.
I don't know, but you could be. First time for everything. Game time?
Likely.
Little game time, Sammy.
All right, it's game time presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus, Ontario only. Please play responsibly. While you guys were talking to Mike Halford there. I was looking at Bet365. There's only one game on the ice tonight, and it is the Nashville Predators hosting
Ottawa
on Prime. Just an electric matchup tonight between those two heavyweights. The Ottawa Senators are actually underdogs in Nashville, plus 115 on the money line.
Sorry, what?
Yeah, plus 115 on the money line.
Sandies.
Yeah, Nashville minus 135 on the money line. I don't know why you would ever bet that, but they could win. But it's just, even if it's bad, it's bad process. Bad process.
What's the Sens minus a goal and a half?
It is.
Gotta be plus 200 or something.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it here. Yeah, it's around there. I can't figure it out at this moment.
There we
Anyways, so yeah, that's the only game in the ice. But I was looking at the Super Bowl stuff or the big game stuff on here. There is a million things.
Oh.
If you we'll get into it more on Friday when it's the big game weekend. So we'll get into it more. Listen, I'm saying it.
But what do they do? What do they do if you say the words of the event?
I already said it, so we could be off the air.
Right.
The show's over.
I'm sorry.
Apparently, you're not supposed to say the superb owl.
It's the big match. It's the big
this big football game this upcoming weekend.
Yeah. Anyways,
you can't call it what it is.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
I
don't
shouldn't have said
understand the rules.
anything.
We
So
need
does
to
that
look-
work for other people with Stanley Cup final?
I don't know.
It's the Stan's mug
And-
until you get there.
anyways, I'm just looking at this.
That's about the stupidest thing I've ever
Yeah,
heard.
I'm
There's
looking
this
up
thing
right
on
now.
Bet365 called the Swifty Specials. And if you hit on the Swifty Special, there's all these different Kelsey props that have different names and stuff. So I'm not going to read them all out, but if you're into that sort of thing, you can get anything on the Super Bowl. You can bet on literally, I said it again. Crap.
You know what? You're fine.
Okay, good.
You just can't use it in advertising or promotions without proper authorization from the NFL.
Okay.
So we can talk about the Super Bowl.
Anyways.
We just can't say, hey, come watch our program.
You went all lawyer on us right now.
Yeah, I got it.
I don't know. I'm an idiot. So I don't know what I can say.
We're all-
Anyways, if you want some great props for the large match this weekend, go on Bet365. That was Game Time presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's ever ordinary at Bet365. It's 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
Super job.
Oh, thank
That
you.
didn't end up circling the bowl. Can I use that?
You're a pretty
Yeah,
funny
it's great.
guy. You're pretty funny.
All right, let's take a quick break. When we return, we'll get into some news and notes, including some pending suspensions, what we thought
Marie-Philippe Poulin.
of
Different one.
which one?
You see in the women's hockey, the greatest woman of all time, apparently. She hit a girl in the head pretty hard.
Really?
Blindside, yeah.
Oh, really?
Missed that.
Yeah.
I missed
Oh,
that one.
good.
Good. I like to
Google
hear
it.
A little
that.
controversy.
Good.
All right, that and more when we return to Real Kyper and Bourne. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. A reminder, this hour, Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. Ryan Hartman, maybe as we speak, is in an in-person hearing that they'll do via Zoom to determine his fate on a match penalty against the Ottawa Senators when he drove Stutzla's head into the ice.
What a gremlin Hartman is, eh?
He's a nasty piece of business,
He-
buddy.
He is. I mean, now you look back at the high stick on Perfetti. I'm like, oh, yeah. I mean, we knew it was on purpose. But
Yeah.
Like,
He told him it was on purpose.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this to you.
right. Correct.
So 5 or more, right? In person?
You would think, yeah. Or, sorry, that's what it is.
I got to
yes.
think he'll get 6 or 7.
More
But
than the 5?
like when you consider this guy's history here, I think it's the 3rd time he's going to be suspended, and he's within a window of repeat offender.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, let's factor that in for a second here. So if it's for anyone else, if it was for anyone else, I'm not sure it's an in-person hearing. Like, you could claim,
Whoopsie.
whoopsie, I fell on him. I'm sorry. First time. Maybe you can get away with it. If this is for him, 6 games, it should be 10.
Yeah. You know, he was suspended in 2024, 3 games for throwing
Whipping
his stick towards an official in an overtime loss. 2023, he was suspended for 2 games for a bad trip on DeBrincat. Earlier in his career, was suspended for slew footing DeBrincat. Like
He's
might be the same one.
yeah,
Whatever.
Yeah. He's not, I mean, he's got a history.
Yeah. So, yeah, Kip, I think it's a reasonable case. And if Minnesota is without Kaprizov and then without Hartman, like, this is
Brodin was out.
Yeah, Brodin was out, and they're not, like, great in the standings.
They're hanging on.
They're hanging on. So things could get real interesting. Let's see. The top of the Central, the top 3 teams, Winnipeg is 77, Dallas is 69, Minnesota with 66. And then, the wildcard spots are 64 and 59 points. So they're could get tight. I love thinking of a way that Vancouver and Calgary could both get in. So that means one of LA, Minnesota, or Colorado would have to come out.
It's not Colorado.
It ain't Colorado.
And I'm not sure with Drew
LA?
Doughty back. LA, I don't think it's LA either. But
Minnesota. There's your hope.
I think it's yeah.
Yeah, the Wild are 4-6-0 in their
catch up
last
to
10,
Minnesota.
and they're reeling a little bit.
We also saw a big hit.
Oh my God!
But you did show me the
Poulin hit.
hit.
I mean, it's pretty blindside. She gets it all shoulder. I don't think it's head, but it's greasy.
It to me, that one looked like just a collision.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
It
didn't look to me like she was.
Not malicious?
No, no. That was just a bad collision. And kind of Tage Thompson with
Nason on Thompson?
Nosen?
Yeah.
Nason?
Yeah.
I think at the last second, he does look like he leans into Tage.
Nason does, yeah.
Nason?
Yeah.
But it's almost out of kind of recovery mode.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it looked like almost a bad collision too, somewhat.
Now, the aftermath of that.
The reaction.
And
Buffalo Sabres took some heat.
Oh, rightfully
and
so.
they should.
Yeah.
Right?
How bad was that? It sucked for them that the first guy on the scene was a rookie, a smaller rookie, Kulich.
Yeah.
And, kind of gave him the, hey, don't.
But what better way to indoctrinate yourself to a team than going in there?
It was really bad. Like, their best offensive force was laying on the ice, and the whole team was just like, I don't know. So Lindy was asked about it post-game, and at first was like, well, it's the time of the game. And
we have the clip. Okay?
Oh, do you?
We have the whole thing.
Yeah.
Let's have a listen.
Just under a minute long.
What was your view of the play?
I didn't watch the replay of it till after the game. Definitely a hit that you don't like. The penalty was well deserved. I know I had a couple guys that wanted to go after him right away. A couple guys. And where we were at in the game, there was going to be a time we were going to even the score.
People on the outside who would see that play, Lindy, would come to the conclusion that your team would not.
Let's go. Next question.
The guy, how frustrating is it though? It's a match penalty and the guy left, so you didn't even get a chance. He's gone for the year and you don't play him.
Well, then you pick another guy. Pick another guy. Pick any guy then.
How quick did Lindy just go from, well, it was not the time of the game to all of a sudden be like, just pick someone.
Kill anyone. Hack the bone.
Maybe he was talking about the next time they play.
It seemed to me like he was like,
it was weird.
Someone should have grabbed
Pick
someone.
another guy. Pick any guy then.
So
anyone.
That's a great drop. Right?
So on the opening of that, he's protecting his team.
He's trying to defend it.
He's trying to protect them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're in, then you got to stay with that plan.
He couldn't. He was too
You
mad.
can't go pick another guy.
Pick any guy then.
The second question was, on the outside, it looked like whatever, and he said, BS.
All crap, all crap.
And that got the mercury in the thermometer going up. Yeah. And all of a sudden, it was just like, you want me on that wall.
You don't watch the game very well?
Yeah.
The truth was revealed.
And where's Buffalo? Right? Where are they going? They're going nowhere.
Nowhere.
So why not at least
go out swinging?
It's Tage. We nicknamed him like Mario last year.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah,
okay.
Tage Lemieux.
All right. Yeah. And he was Claude Lemieux then last year. But that's your best player.
Yeah.
Pretend like you care.
I know. The last 3 games they've beat Boston, Nashville, and New Jersey. And so I just retweeted someone who had a picture of everyone wearing the Gretzky jersey in Wayner's last day and said the Buffalo Sabres, as soon as they're 47 points out of a playoff race, just a team full of Gretzkys, they're suddenly so good while the season is irrelevant. And they should just, as you said, should have had a reaction there, and they should bottom out right now, trade Cousins, and try to get a top pick. They need a top pick. I know they've been getting top picks forever.
I mean, the top picks ain't working.
Well, do you think it'll do better not getting top picks?
I don't know. Try something else.
They're getting worse picks.
Well,
is your plan.
they've gotten 2 overall picks who are supposed to be generational defensemen, and
We suck.
Thank you.
Right.
They have 47 points, and the next closest team is Philly with 52.
So
They're awful.
you like trying for 13th?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or just try to get some good players that are like of
what I'm
age.
suggesting. Yeah.
But not like another 18-year-old that's going to take 5
if you
years.
want to flip the pick, that's great. And I'm on board with that. Yeah.
Stop sucking every year. They just suck all the time. They're brutal.
They need a new owner. They just need to.
They need Josh Allen.
Player, right?
That's what they need.
He's a football guy. He's got a new stadium going. Just sell the team to somebody that can really go in there and re-engage the audience.
Mm-hmm.
They've lost so much there.
I think the most consistent thing on this show is like all of us kind of root for the Sabres to be at least good. They don't have to be great. But I love the fan base there, and it's just
they showed it once upon a time 20 years ago, man. They could.
But if they're good, they'll be there in droves.
There was not a team that I feared more than the Sabres for a big part of my life. They were dynamic.
Yeah.
They had such great teams.
Or what?
Just such great players, like from Hasek into Miller, Pominville, Drury. Like all those teams were so, I don't know, they're gritty, good teams. Yeah. And they haven't been that.
With like real characters. Rob Ray, who just got inducted into their Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Razor. Very well deserved.
Yeah.
But where's that heart and soul kind of guy?
It's one thing
that
to your
the
point.
fans can relate to.
But
Brad May.
Even the roster, Kip. Like, who on their team is supposed to do that? Like, if you're going to be bad, most teams have some. Their fourth line right now is Peyton Krebs, Beck Mallenstein, and Dennis Gilbert.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Like, and who else?
Yeah. Can they have Ryan Reeves?
And who else?
Like, like someone like him. Have Rempe. Have someone that the fans are like, all right, well.
At least someone will get beat up tonight.
Yeah, like we're not going to hand over the 2 points without a bruise.
Injuries on the weekend as well. Josh Norris out a couple of weeks. Barzell's out with the Islanders.
Indefinitely.
Marchenko got hurt sitting on the bench.
Broken jaw. Taken right off the bench to hospital. Broken
This
jaw.
one had surgery.
Broken jaw.
I wonder, he's got to be wired shut, I would think.
And this was their top scorer. And really,
their best player.
Yeah.
They're still
most dangerous.
They're still in a playoff spot, guys. They're in the second wild card
player.
spot right now.
So these are all teams chasing a playoff spot.
Mm-hmm.
Norris, we hear, I don't think it's his shoulder, so that's good.
Yeah.
They're calling it like a mid.
Somewhere in here.
Mid.
Belly.
So embarrassing.
Looking at those teams that were all in that cluster of potential playoff teams, Philly's quit. Pittsburgh's gone. Montreal's lost 5 straight games since they were red hot. They're in real trouble.
And they were like 12-2 or something.
Yeah,
were they not?
they were the best team since the start of December. I'm not saying they're done, but they're struggling.
I'll say it.
Okay.
Done.
Rangers now are suddenly legit. Islanders need to sell. Bruins, Columbus in trouble. Like all of a sudden, it's like Tampa Bay, Detroit, the Rangers. We're getting some clarity in Ottawa.
Huge win by the Rangers, led by Jonathan Quick's win, which gave him 400, first U.S.-born goaltender to do that.
Yeah, and consider goalies start,
Fantastic.
50
career.
games a year.
I thought he was done like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago.
Same. He's been unbelievable as a
he's
Ranger.
been really good. Really good.
Very surprised. The greats always have more than you think.
You have to.
Hall of Famer.
You really have to give some credit to the Red Wings here, boys. Since McClellan took over, they're 14-4-1.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is a really good stretch of hockey.
6 straight wins.
And you look at the roster and you're like, they got some good players, but are they a 14-4-1 stretch of good players? Like, it's a good coaching job
but we've seen others with great stretches, but you're still not out of the woods. You still lose 2 or 3 in a row, and it doesn't matter.
You talked about Montreal getting red hot. The Isles just won 7 in a row, and they're not in playoffs.
And then they had a bad loss.
Yeah, and now they're out. So
until we see 3 in a row, and then we put them back in.
So the Red Wings, I'd like to see the Red Wings make a move. Like, be one of the teams that's like, okay, we think we're really in this fight. We got a shot. Give the boys a little something, something. Like maybe a goalie? Is that be the first team that goes to get a goalie?
I don't know. Like, the problem is now, if you've got this bit of a run here and you've been getting good goaltending, you kind of mess with the chemistry. It's not just adding another scorer or another depth guy on the blue line. You're significantly changing the dynamic of your room by sticking a very important player in a very important position.
And actually, their team goaltender has been average all year.
I was going to say, also, I'm sure Red Wing fans love hearing they need a goalie after Cam Talbot's got 4 straight wins with save percentages of .971, .960, 100, and .931.
Okay, you believe in Cam Talbot? All
No,
right,
but
on
he's
a
just
4-game sample size?
I can guarantee you fans will be like, we got good goaltending.
And the problem now is if it gets to the point where you think you really need a goalie, it's too late. You're out.
You're looking for David Riddick. That's what you're looking for.
No, that's true. So maybe they can get a little something somewhere else in the lineup then, because apparently goaltender is a bad idea. Gustafsson and Hall is their third pair right now, which the Leafs have seen both those guys do their thing.
That is quite a bit.
All right, just one game.
One goes that way and one
They're
goes this way.
14-4-1, and they've got those guys. Anyway,
just a one game tonight on Prime, Ottawa and Nashville, and you said that Nashville's a favorite.
Yes, they are.
Which is insanity to
they're
me.
my favorite. But
Sen's been humming.
You like Ottawa above Detroit and everybody else at this point, or is it a coin toss?
The honest answer is that it's a coin toss. I like their top end guys better. I really like
Josh Norris.
I
was
love
like
Sanderson.
On a mission the last little while. Every time
He's been great.
I watch the
Batherson's been
highlight,
great.
he's on a breakaway,
scoring.
But this guy cannot stay healthy.
No, it's tough. But I mean, that's just one of those things in the league where like guys have players like that. Sometimes they sort it out. There's a point where I thought Sidney Crosby might be a guy we wouldn't get to see his whole career pan out the way people thought, and he locked it up.
The Sens, you mentioned them, sent Muralainen back to the AHL.
Which some kick in the teeth after all he's given him.
I think his numbers, he has an 8-3-1 record and a 199 goals against and a 925 save percentage in 12 games for Ottawa this year. So it's
to the minors.
It's indication. Yeah, like, I mean,
what did you want me to do?
Yeah, so I guess that means that Allmark's on his way back, which would be a big boost for them. But it really feels like they are, like, it's a real threat as a first round.
What's the latest on Ovi there, Sammy? 17?
Yeah.
Ties?
I think so. Something around there. I don't know the exact number. I'll look at it.
I think it's 17.
I've been watching it too close. I've kind of been pretending it's not happening.
Granlund
To be quite honest
to
with
the
you.
Stars. Patrick Laine got benched.
He has 877 goals. So
That doesn't help me.
he needs 895. So he needs pass. So that's exactly how many?
18 pass.
18 to pass. The Great Chase.
Come on, you guys.
No,
Get
it's
excited.
just the branding. I'm not excited about.
I'm not excited. Oh, got my phone.
People are excited about it. People are saying.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, our thanks to Luke Fox in our opening hour on our Leaf Edition show. And Mike Halford, who joined us out of Vancouver. Enjoy your one game tonight.
Let's go Sennies.
And we're back tomorrow to do it all over again, but better. No?
God, I hope so.
I hope so too.